Good morning and welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. It's great to see you this morning. Happy Monday. How are things going so far this week? So far, so good. Woke up. It was maybe a nice day. Made yourself a cup of tea or coffee. So far, so good. That's what's happening here. So far, so good. Woken up by animals. I have a special dislike for being woken up by animals because it's one thing being woken up by kids, but it's another thing being woken up by animals. But hey, they live here too, right? And they need to make noise and wake you up for food at absurd times. But it's still a good morning. It's a beautiful morning here in Connecticut. Cheryl, I bet it's a beautiful sunny morning. Oh, is it a very cold day on the Cape? Holy mackerel, really? It didn't seem like a cold day today, but it might be. I'm always in such a dither when I go outside to take the kids to school that I don't even feel the weather. We're always late. We're always rushing. It's always something. Today it was like a giant truck that was backing in to an impossible driveway thing at a business and was holding up both sides of the road for three revolutions of the traffic light. It was like, wow, we were on time. It's always something, isn't it? Oh, well, if that's the worst thing that happens today. Judy, great to see you, edging towards spring for sure. They're in southern Indiana. Oh, man, that sounds good, doesn't it? Edging towards spring. Carol, great to see you. You are in Utah right now. Oh, that sounds good. Happy coffee time. Karen, happy coffee time. You are in Black Forest, Colorado, anticipating blizzard. That's right. Today's your big blizzard day. Tonight and tomorrow. At least I've got rug hooking. Yeah, and you do have a project to work on. That one for your son. That's going to keep you busy. Yeah, it's good to have an excuse to stay inside, isn't it? That's one of the great things about bad weather. Always felt like that because I'm just an indoor cat, and I don't really like to go outside. So it's always an excuse, isn't it, when the weather's really bad or torrential rain. Ryan, great to see you. Happy Monday. You're working on a collage this morning. Oh, that sounds great. Peace and love to you too. That sounds great. Well, I was going to go back to our conversation on vintage dye techniques and colors. But we'll return to that maybe later in the week. And in the meantime, Rug Hooking Magazine came. So I thought, well, let's do this. It's a very pretty issue. Let's look at the main things that are in it. And as usual, I'm not going to give you a spoiler alert because you might subscribe and you might not have gotten yours yet. I know Canadian buddies have not gotten theirs yet. It comes a little bit later. It's a beautiful spring issue. I think this is Mrs. Hashisuko's piece right on the cover. Hold on one second. Let me check. I didn't even clock that. Let's see. You would think that the cover attribution would be immediate. Okay, so Rug Hooking Magazine is published 5 times a year. 5 times a year. Okay. That's weird. Because I noticed, hold on one second. Okay, yeah, it's Mrs. Hashisuka. Designed and hooked by Fumio Hashisuko. So we'll look at this one later. This is actually, I didn't even clock it. This is one of the ones that I used in the show for today, right? Because as usual, the things that I choose for the show, if you have something in Rug Hooking Magazine and I don't show it on this program, it's not because I don't love your work and love you. It's just I do random picks, you know what I mean? Because I know we all like different things. So I do random picks so that there's a little bit of each style represented. And I guess I do, sometimes go for things that I especially like. But yeah, there's so many beautiful images to look at in Rug Hooking Magazine, and we can't possibly look at them all, nor should we, because you're getting yours and you want to enjoy it and be surprised as well. Buttons just found a nice spot in the light over there. He is too cute. So let's talk about this first. I'll think of a bunch of things that I need to tell you later, and they'll emerge from my brain sooner rather than later, I hope. So the thing that confused me is this issue. It seems like it's working differently this year. Am I losing it? This is volume number 36, number 5. And so this is March, April, May 2025. I thought that the 3-month break was like May, June, July, or no, June, July, August. I thought it was June, July, August. I thought the summer issue was one issue for 3 months instead of a bi-monthly. But then this is a spring issue that's a tri-monthly. So how is that going to work number-wise? See how good I am at math? Joss is always saying, when will I use my math? And I say never, but maybe maybe the answer is always, and that's why I can't do these simple problems. So yeah, I was just surprised because I didn't think historically March, April, May that the spring issue was a collective tri-monthly, 3-month issue as opposed to the bi-monthly schedule. So has that changed, or is it just in my head that was the case? Because I thought that it was bi-monthly through the year, with the exception of summer being the 3 months at once. Don't know. Good to know, though. Although it does say, let me see, it should say in their mission at the beginning, Rug Hooking magazine is published 5 times a year: January, February. Okay, yeah, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Okay, so it's me. It is me. Ampre Publishing in Northbrook, Illinois. Gosh, I have not had any luck with this publisher, I have to say, not to be rotten, but I published my second book through them, and it is like difficult. That book is now available on Amazon, and that's really, I have them in stock myself, but it's a good way to get them because in terms of them sending me books, it just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen within the timeline of human interactions and business, but yeah, whatever. So. Rug Hooking magazine. That's a different story. This is a beautiful issue, as they all are. This is a little bit different. It's balanced a little bit differently. At first blush, because I only looked at it so far this morning. Jessica, good morning. Great to see you. Happy Monday. At first blush, I will say one of the exciting things about it is it is super seasonal. Like sometimes it's kind of in my mind all over the place. Like it doesn't give you a sense of place or ground you for the season that you're in. And for me, with books, it's one thing, but with periodicals, I really like it when the periodical reflects the season that you're in and presents you with projects and articles that make you feel seasonally appropriate, a bit festive, right? Even maybe that if we don't just regard that as a Christmas word, then you want to feel like springtime in the springtime and like Christmas at Christmas. So if you celebrate Christmas, so in this issue, I feel they've achieved that in a huge way, and it does make a difference, right? Because I want a sense of place when something comes in the mail to me. I'm not a big fan of something coming in the mail that's for Halloween at this point, as much as I love Halloween. So it's really nice that this is a very seasonal issue, and you're going to see a lot of eye candy in here that really inspires you coming into the spring season now. So that is a good thing. It's a beautiful issue to look at. And these are some of the features that are in it. The Reader's Choice poll results. So that is always very subjective. I personally hate stuff like that because it's like the results are going to be based on the people who voted. And it's not, it's a very narrow group of people. So although there are some varied results to the results, I'll show you some of the picks from the results. But I just hope that nobody puts too much sort of weight into submitting stuff for Rug Hooking magazine or Celebration, anything that's juried, because sometimes when you don't get in or you don't get a prize, it sets you back and it makes you feel like you're not on the right track with your own work. And that's not the case, right? That's not the case. It's just that the people who juried it or judged it or whatever are not people who exactly like the same thing as you. Thank God we don't all like the same thing, right? But there is a style that, in my mind, is associated with Rug Hooking magazine. You can say otherwise, but in my mind, there is a style. So we're looking at that style in the results for the most part. Hooked denim jackets. I got so nervous when I saw that one this morning because I thought, oh no, Rebecca, my good buddy Rebecca White Martin, she was talking about putting an article together for Rug Hooking magazine on the jackets from Tigger. Remember when we went to Tigger this past fall? And I thought, oh no, someone beat her to the punch. Well, it is her article. It is her article, and it's beautiful. So we'll look at that together. Blooming Springtime Patterns, International Punch Needle Rug Hooking Day. I think the pattern this time was sponsored by Robin Whitford. We'll see when we get there, but I think so. So let's dig in and look at some of this. And again, I'm not showing you the whole magazine because then there's no incentive to buy the magazine, right? And if Rug Hooking magazine is going to continue on, they need subscribers, right? So Um, and let me tell you just the basic things about the magazine at this moment. We are still at 80 pages, right? Just so you know, now that I'm publishing a magazine, I understand how this works. 80 pages is one of the cutoffs, right? You hit 80, 100, 120, and the price goes significantly up at that point. So I think for the time being, we are stuck at 80 pages, right? So however you feel about that, because this is a magazine that has a lot of advertising in it. But there's also a lot of beautiful content, right? So it's up to you. The only reason I'm putting these disclaimers out is because every time I look at this magazine, some people will write and say, not in a nasty way, but say, oh, I started subscribing because you recommended the magazine. And, it doesn't, I wish I hadn't. There's not enough content. It's not long enough. There's not enough stuff for me. It's impossible for me to know. All I can tell you is it's an 80-page magazine and there's a lot of advertising. But that's on the negative side. On the plus side, the content that is there is beautiful. And we only have 3 rug cooking magazines in our lives. So it's good to support all of them, I would say. So let me open up. Well, first let me see what we got going here. Lots of advertisements. They are also beautiful, and those are eye candy. The first major article is, for me, an out of the park hit. It is by Diane Castruccio, and it is called Look into the Passion Window, the Making of a Masterpiece. So this is a long article, which they haven't been doing lately. This is 2, 4, I'm just sussing it out, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So it's a 14-page article. They haven't been doing the longer articles lately. I would say, for me, this article is definitely worth 14 pages. Let me show you what the content is. It does have religious content. So again, this can be derisive material. People might say, like, that's a lot of pages, and I'm not that interested in looking at stuff with a religious backbone. That is a valid opinion. At the same time, it is such beautiful rug cooking. It is such beautiful work, and it is inspired work. So it doesn't matter what religion you are and how you feel about religion or religious stories or iconography. What matters is that this is an extraordinary piece, and I know that we're all going to agree on that. And we are coming into the season of Lent and Easter and all of that stuff, right? Am I not on right now? I'm worried because Karen just said, has anyone heard from Deanna? Can you all confirm? Can you all confirm that I'm on? I'm a little bit worried. I'm not going to go too much further until I know that I'm live, because it seems like, oh, okay, I'm good. Yeah, maybe something happened with Karen's feed. That made me nervous. Rita says, I think it sucks that after many, many years they dropped Wanda Care's articles. She always presents new and refreshing content. I'm so disappointed. Her articles is why I subscribe. Okay. Thanks, Leah. Yeah, I don't know anything about it, right? Because they don't talk to me about anything. I was close to Mark Allison when he was the publisher, because I was working on my second book then, and they were publishing it. But Caitlin is always very nice when I write, but I have no relationship with her, so I just don't know. Okay, good. Everybody's good. Thank you so much. I don't know. I know that there's always mixed feelings about this, because with a magazine that is this long with this much advertising, I'm not going to do the math, because that sounds awful. But in terms of page count, I know that there's always mixed feelings about, nothing to do with Wanda Care, right? Because obviously she's like fantastic. I know there's always mixed feelings about having the same person do content each time. I think her content was always lively and exciting and inspiring. But that's my opinion and your opinion, and who knows? When the magazine isn't super long, I guess it's a bit of a bottleneck, isn't it? People wanting to get content in there and different content, and and it comes back to this question of how we're all different, even with something as silly as a magazine. This is why it's great to have 3 magazines in the marketplace. I'm plugging Magpie overtly right now. because I think some of us like magazines that work like newspapers, and they're very informational, and they tell you what the big events are, and they tell you what's next. They have like official contests, official rules to official themes, and they deliver the news of the craft, and I think Rug Cooking Magazine fits into that category. Atha fits into the more of the category of, it's like a heart from the Heart magazine. It's, I always say this, more of a scrapbook. What are the various guilds around the country, the various Atha guilds respectively doing with their time? What projects have they got going? What group stuff is going? Are they taking any trips? Have they done anything fun? It's a scrapbook. It's a collection of what are all of the different guilds all over North America doing. We want to know, so we read Atha magazine. Magpie is different again. I felt there was a hole in the market, and I filled it with Judy Taylor, obviously partnering with me. And the point of Magpie is to not have advertising, right? So it's not a moneymaker, but it is it's another of the heart variety. And it is for people who want to see themselves published, who have interesting articles to share. We try to work to a seasonal theme rather than a specific theme. We always offer both. But we are a bit more touchy-feely in terms of the voice of the magazine. And I do like having the same features from one to the next, because it feels like old-timey Dear Abby days. You open up the periodical, you expect to see A, B, and C, and there it is, right? Like a familiar friend, there it is. So, each magazine is different. And I know Caitlin, the new editor of the magazine, I don't know if I should say new anymore, but they must be sort of getting their stride at this point. I think the only thing that helps is feedback, right? Just like everything in the world right now, the only thing that helps is feedback, and saying, oh, that was very jarring and disappointing. That's the reason I subscribe, right? It's always been there, and I expected to see it again. I know exactly what you mean. All right, so let's look at this piece. I'm different religious. I'm more spiritual than this kind of religious, but I did grow up Roman Catholic, and I love seeing art that has this much religious spirit to it, because regardless of what you believe in, the stories are beautiful, and they're morality tales, right? And you might say, well, it's they're true stories. Don't put it like that, Deanna. I apologize, but the point is they're good stories, right? For the most part, they're good stories. They tell you how to be a good person and to not mess up too much. And looking at a window like this, like a stained glass window back in the day, for so many people coming to an old church, and I'll introduce the sort of inspiration for this project. Going to an old church, and back in the day, not everybody read, right? Not everybody could read. And for that reason, you would look at stained glass windows, even more so in Europe, and they would tell you the stories from the Bible. And that was the only way that you knew them, was by looking at the pictures of what was happening, right? Otherwise, and you'd hear the stories, but a lot of people couldn't read the stories themselves. That's why these windows are so elaborate. Now, this is obviously, it's called the Passion Window. It is obviously a very inspired and personal project, because it is an enormous project. Oh, that's okay, Karen. No, I appreciate it, because I might have been like gone and I wouldn't have even known it. No, I always appreciate it. So this is an article called The Passion Window. This is the largest article in this issue, The Making of a Masterpiece, by Diane Castrucci. Diane says, I'm a collector of patterns and projects. There are so many things I like to hook, but not enough time to hook them. When I'm finishing a rug, it is odd if I don't know what I will hook next. I often plan up to 3 projects in advance. One afternoon, I came home from work and announced to my husband that I had figured it out. I knew what my next project would be. He replied, "You're going to hook the window behind the altar." I had just had the realization that day and was stunned that he knew before I did. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? Honestly, Nikki, good morning, my love. Great to see you. I've missed you too. I'm glad you're there. I was wondering. I was hoping everything was okay. So Diane goes on to say, I had been feeling inspired to hook a religious rug with the magnitude of a religious art masterpiece. I looked through patterns depicting the Last Supper, the Nativity, angels, and other various religious works of art, but nothing satisfied my desire. At the same time, the beautiful Gothic stone church that I loved, called St. Joseph Church in Laconia, New Hampshire, was just in Laconia. Damn it! I wish I would have gotten the article. Uh, oh my gosh! Was announced to soon be torn down and closed. I was devastated. Inside the church, magnificent painted stained glass windows line every wall, letting in colored beams of light behind the altar down both sides and up in the choir loft. The windows were designed by Joseph G. Reynolds, Jr., of Reynolds, Francis, and Ronstock, a Boston, Massachusetts firm, between 1931 and 1932. The Passion window behind the altar most drew my attention. It depicts 14 scenes from Holy Week, starting with Palm Sunday on the lower left corner and ending with Jesus being laid in the tomb in the top right corner. I took pictures, lots of them. For many years, this church has been central to my faith and where I feel closest to God. It is also where I met and married my husband. Oh no. And where I want to share my faith with my family. As rug hooking artists, we hook what we love. In my case, that is the window depicting the Passion of Christ. I love the style and colors, and even more so, I love the content the window depicts and the faith, hope, and love. Whew, it's choking me up. The scenes evoke within me. Okay, this is awful. This is awful. This just gets me going down another rabbit hole. You know, it's like the crazy machine of time just rolls along like like a wrecking ball, wrecking beautiful memories and things. And not to do a Joni Mitchell, but like what are they turning it into? Like a parking lot? I mean, honest to God, like that's really upsetting. I'm going to look up Diane. Maybe she would like to go. I wonder how big this piece is. Maybe she would like to go to the church and we could do a little show there or something, or gather and look at this window and at this beautiful piece before the place is gone, right? Isn't it awful when you realize that there are things in life that are time limited, you know? Like my good buddy at church, Carl, he's in his 70s. He just signed up to walk that, what is it called? The El Camino or something. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's like in Spain, this eternal walk. Sounds amazing. I'm going to research it before we get together again, so I know more about what he's doing. But, you know, he said, oh, I signed up for that walk because, you know, I'm in my 70s and it's on my bucket list. And I said, please don't say bucket list. It makes me feel so sad because it's unrealistic, but you just hope that you get to do all of the things that, I'm going to choke myself up, that you want to do and mean to do before it's too effing late. Like, enjoy going to this beautiful church to see this beautiful piece of art before a wrecking ball takes it down. All right. Okay, I'm going to regroup. So, anyway, I feel I need to go further into this because I was just in Laconia last weekend, and if I had gotten this magazine, that would have been the thing that I would have done there. All right, so let's get back to creating the pattern. This is a long article. I'm not going to read it all to you, but let me bring you to a different slide because we can get a lot closer up here. What a world, man. So this is the actual window. From the many photos I captured, I selected one. I asked the local print shop to help me with the image and discovered that they could use software to adjust and angle the window and remove distortion. Yeah, if you have programs like paint.net, you can do that. Or if you take pictures on your phone, most phones can do that very, very effectively without even opening the computer, like opening a laptop. Since I took the photo from the ground looking up, the image had a keystone effect, causing the bottom of the window. Yeah, so that would have been quite a perspective problem. I'm not sure my phone could handle that, to be honest. So you can see Diane saying that the images she took were so angled that would naturally affect her ability to get a good line drawing of each of these panels. So here is the original painted stained glass window behind the altar at St. Joseph Church in Laconia, New Hampshire. And there is a signature at the bottom that you won't be able to see in this photo, but it does say Reynolds, Francis, and Ronstock, Boston, 1932. Absolutely beautiful. I'm just paraphrasing from the article. So Diane says that her local rug hooking teacher, Gail Walden, dyed most of the wool. She made a large quantity of swatches for each color, so there could be sort of ombre gradation, right? I also used the poster for inspiration as I was hooking. I reordered an engineering print and used a Sharpie marker to trace out the details of each scene on the print, making the lines darker and more visible. I then attempted to retrace the pattern onto red dot. It only took about 30 minutes. Holy Christ. I've never done a piece this big in 30 minutes. That's really something. Before realizing that it was not going to work. Oh, okay. The red dot was slipping and stretching. Yeah, and the drawing was difficult. Okay. I'm just looking, I'm paraphrasing. I'm reading down to see what she ended up using a light table. This is the very reason that I use fiber tape. And if you're not comfortable with the product, and I am because I've researched it hugely, all the feels, I know, right, Leah? It's like, God, besides us, does anybody think that anything is precious and has value anymore in this world? I mean, beautiful places like this beautiful piece of art. I wonder what's going to happen to this window. Maybe Diane knows. I mean, I'm hoping that they're going to take it down and do something with it. Put it somewhere where the community can still enjoy it, like the library or the historical society, the town hall, right? Because this is in a lot of people's memory, and this is part of their lives. And for people like Diane, right, their future generations are not going to be able to get married in this church because it's going to be a parking lot. I don't know if it's going to be a park. You know what I mean? Metaphorically, it's going to be a parking lot. Janice, great to see you in Pepperell, Mass. Janice, we're talking about this beautiful image in Rug Hooking Magazine that comes from the St. Joseph Church in Laconia, New Hampshire. So in this article, Diane talks a lot about what her process is for pulling the first loops, what she struggled with, how she filled the backgrounds. We know that she had those swatch sets dyed for her. She talks about discovering the colors, right? And of course, there is a color palette dictated to begin with, but you have to make some adaptations and modifications because you're changing medium. Nothing will be glass, will it? Nothing will have the brilliance and the luminosity, the glow of glass, but swatch sets, right? Color changing swatch sets. And I am going to dye some swatch sets this week, by the way. Diane Rivera was asking for those, and I'm going to dye a bunch of sets that are ombre, right, for this very reason. And I'm going to make them a little larger than the door ones so that you can actually use them for something. That sounded worse than I meant it to sound. So, if you're going to switch to a fiber art medium, we're talking about an opaque medium, tactile but not luminescent, and no opportunities for transparency. So the way that you have to create light effects is with color gradation and color change, ombre color, right, fading. So this is a beautiful article where Diane literally talks about every part of not just, sorry, I'm not ready for that yet, not just hooking the thing, but making thoughtful decisions, recognizing the symbolism, right? Because all of this is important. You can just hook it according to what the lines are, but if you mean to pop different aspects of it, that's hooked. If you mean to pop different aspects of it, you need to be really thoughtful about what's important, right? Because you are translating it. You're translating it from glass to fiber. And like, I'm biased, but I will say it is important. It's going to be more accessible as fiber art because it's going to be physically closer to people, right? It's so far up there in the wall that in the 21st century, whether or not you know all this entire story from beginning to end, right? Whether or not you do, you're not going to really be able to figure the story out with no help, right? If you have no starting point. With a piece like this, you can be able to take a much closer look at this window. So the window is forever immortalized, and because she had the opportunity to translate the window in this way and make it so much more accessible to people, Diane is in a position where, in thinking the thing through, she's able to look at the symbolism and look at the images and pick out the parts that she thinks are the most important ones to pop. For example, the 3 archangels at the top of the rug hold circular symbols representing the Trinity. The left, I'll show you this in a second, the left angel holds a lamb with a white flag bearing a cross symbolizing the sun, S-O-N. The right angel holds the image of the hand of God in front of a sphere. and the top representing the Father, and the top center angel holds a haloed dove facing downward, a symbol of the Holy Spirit. So the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit really come into play, whereas with the actual church church window, they're there with sort of equal weight to the rest of it. But in this case, it seems to me like there is a real emphasis in the top, color-wise, swatch sets, emphasizing this top arch, showing the really the core of the story, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, the Trinity right there at the top. So having the ability to make these little changes so that you can emphasize the storytelling that is the most important to you is a big deal. And it's also a monumental project. What a beautiful work. At the end of this article, she goes row by row and tells you what each picture within that window. What is wrong with me lately with the coughing? I got like consumption or something. What each picture in that window means. What a beautiful article. Right, regardless of how you feel about religion, what a beautiful article. It's from the heart. And whether or not you get to that church in Laconia, I'm damned if I'm not going to get there. But that didn't sound quite right because we are talking about a church. But whether or not you get to that church before it's knocked down, that history is there for you in that beautiful rug. And it does bring up the question, not that we need any more projects, but it does bring up the question, is there a beautiful building near you that's about to be torn down? I mean, it makes you start to panic, doesn't it? I mean, it makes me panic. The oldest church, the oldest house in this town is right down the street from me. It's on the same street. It's this tiny little red house that is falling apart, that nobody wanted to buy, that has been on the market for years. And it has been at risk of being torn down because it's on a fairly busy street and it could be used for something. Because who wants to live in a house that is that size on a main road with a giant hearth for a fireplace and no real opportunities to put like bathrooms in the way that people expect to have more than one bathroom these days? Who would want it? And luckily it was announced recently that somebody has bought it and they're turning it into a coffee shop, which is perfect because to live there would be a pinch, even for a couple. It's very, very small. But as a coffee shop, fantastic. I hope that they don't do stupid stuff on the inside, but if we can go in there and enjoy looking at the hearth, those old walls, whatever they're able to preserve from the house, and be there for half an hour while you drink a coffee, that's perfect, isn't it? That's better than being knocked down and like just gone forever. Think about what's near you. The Historical Society always knows stuff like this, or they should have a baseline on important and beautiful buildings that are about to get it. So something to think about, right? Something else to think about. Kirsten, great to see you. Good morning. And Jessica says, I love stained glass. I got to see that piece at the solder exhibit. Oh, was it there? Oh, I didn't realize that people have already seen it. And it was so stunning. My daughter's favorite one of the trip. Oh, that is so nice. That is so nice. There's been a lot of solder talk lately. It's like I have to gear up for solder already. So many things to tell you, but we'll talk about that stuff another time. So this is another beautiful article from my buddy Janine Brocious. And I so wish this was a Magpie because our theme is busy bees. But this is a beautiful article in any magazine. This specific piece is called Bee and Blooms. And this is 28 by 19, number 4 to number 7 cut on linen, designed and hooked by Janine herself in 2024, so last year. This is an article that I really connected with just at first glance because I love her. And I love her storytelling, and she's been on the show with us. We all love Janine, I'm sure. And in this article, you will really look forward to it because she's telling the story of her grandfather's farm. And she talks about how in the fall and the winter, her grandfather drove school buses, but in the spring and summer, he worked on a farm growing strawberries. And it's about, you can see some of the things in the rug, it's not just the bee, it's also the blooms, right? But the article is about the farm, pulling straw plants. Here, let me just give you a little. There's a lot of family photos in it. This one is the truck coming with the straw to put over the strawberries. I wonder if that's why they're called strawberries. I never even thought of that. That's a lot of straw, right? Bringing in the straw for the strawberry plants. That's a lot of straw. I bet that is why they're called strawberries. I never thought of that. It's a beautiful article. It's a personal article. She's got some gorgeous photos in her here. This is a pattern that appears in Rug Cooking Magazine too, so you could do this. Sharon, great to see you. Happy Monday morning. She's got beautiful pictures like this is her grandma posing with some of that year's harvest. Um, it's just beautiful, isn't it? Isn't it beautiful, this kind of family history? And as usual, Janine takes us through um, I'll just show you quickly. I'll show you a little bit. I don't want to show you all of it, but takes us through the design process, the drawing process. And I particularly like this little, it runs in the family here. This is her brother at his little strawberry stand, right? This would have been a little while ago too. But just nice seeing the family photos of the family business and incorporating all of these beautiful summer plants with the family history of having that strawberry farm. I got to show Grandpa. And he looks like such a kind man, doesn't he? In a little rowboat. What heaven. What heaven. That reminds me of my dad. He loved to be out in a rowboat. All right, beautiful article, Janine. I love it. I love you. Love the article and the family story as usual. It's so nice to share these stories and to weave our family histories into our pieces. There's nothing better. The next article is by my very good friend, Rebecca Martin, of Storyteller Wool. And of course, we were at Tigger together. We shared a room together. We traveled together. The whole thing was fantastic. I'm not going to focus on all of these jackets because there was a lot. I'm sure you remember me telling you there were so many jackets at Tigger. We did the jean jacket thing. We'll probably do something similar for the next Tigger. We'll see if we do exactly the same or maybe something a little bit different. So let me just show you what the article looks like. It really was such a huge thing at Tigger to see so many people with the denim jackets on and the hooked backs. The hooking wasn't done directly into the denim jacket, right? Because that would not work. Punching, maybe, mini punching, definitely, but hooking would not work into denim, right? Because it's like a twill weave. It's not like an open weave. So that wouldn't work. So everybody who did a rug hooked piece had to put it on backing and then sew it on. Although there are some variations, there are some really unusual answers to the shout out for what will your jacket be. Everybody did something that was really unique. So this is just one page of them. I'm not going to highlight all of the pages. I had two jackets. One of mine is there, my little owl. So lots of different ideas. A lot of people did stuff that was specifically very Canadian. I'll stretch this one open. Let's stretch this one and look at it a little bit. I don't want to do too much of a spoiler alert, but I do want to look at some of them because they really were fun. It'll give you an idea of what people did. Just like with any of the challenges that we do together, sometimes people get kind of stalled at the beginning and think, what to do. So on the top left, this is a beautiful jacket. Do you see how it's like that sort of upholstery brocade in the panel? I bet she took out the back panel of the jacket and replaced it. Because if you take that piece out, right, if you literally cut that piece out or use a seam ripper to remove it, then you have the pattern piece, like the actual fashion pattern piece, and then you just need to recut it. Because if you take it out with the seam allowance, you don't just like cut it, like box cut it, like brrr. But if you actually take the piece out, it will have seam allowance, right? So if you cut it exactly the same size, you can replace it and it will fit exactly the same way. Is it a pain in the butt? Of course. But it's done with a needle and thread, and we can all do that stuff. It's beautiful to see a different background, right? And Marilee Pearson has attached a lovely small rug that really fits the background fabric with a very sort of Art Deco feel, right? Very heavy outline, little landscape. Looks like a sort of, again, the group of seven. We were talking about the group of seven a little bit last night, the Canadian group of artists. Has a little bit of that early 20th century feel. Really lovely. And then the next one, Nan Millette, that's a typo. It's Nan, N-A-N. Tigger 2024, beautiful jacket, says it all, right? It was like for Tigger 2024, great souvenir. Rebecca's piece, she chose a jacket. She's so small. She's got such a tiny little figure. She's gorgeous. She chose a jacket with a fur like lining. And I said, are you sure you want to wear a fur lining like indoors? Because I'm just thinking about how I feel with constant like heat. And she's like, oh no, I'm always cold. And I was like, of course you are. Of course you are. You're this little precious, gorgeous little doll. Of course you're cold. You can use a nice warm jacket. She looked beautiful in this jacket. And she had it on for much of the conference. And she's got the sheep on the back. Really smart. Lucy Richard on the right. Another extraordinary piece with the bird, with the sky, right? Just very, very visual. Really lovely. I'm not going to go through them all because we are always on a time thing. But you can see each one is very different, very special. When I look over at Merrill Cook, there appears to be some felting on there as well. Megan Sionis did the front pocket, maybe the back too, but the front pocket, Halloween kind of theme with the little cobweb pocket. Just the pocket done, and then the little spider crawling across it. Interesting, right? I love Michelle's. I don't want to skip Michelle's. She's from Ireland. She's one of my buddies too. Beautiful sort of fracture feel on hers, right? Really different. But Merrill, I think, included a needle felting. So just extraordinary. Very, very different. Pat Olson, again, different techniques, doing some putty, applying some buttons like applique style, doing some standing wool. Super fun. Super fun. And here are some of the other ones that appear on this particular page. They are all beautiful. Leslie Knights again. She was on the board of this last Tigger. It looks like needle felted again. Really extraordinary and different. I mean, these are all extraordinary. Susan Sutherland's. I mean, I'm just going to call them all out because I can't skip over any of them. They're all gorgeous. And Susan's really fits her personality too. It's got like this sort of contemporary feel to it. It's just cool. It's cool. It's a cool pattern. It looked amazing on. It's very wearable as well. Leslie Knight, Trish Barrett. I love this face and profile. I love it. And it's a great example of how it doesn't exactly have to fit the back panel, right? It can, but it doesn't have to. This is like an irregular shape, right? Really interesting. And Laura Wellman's on the right, that one is fitting in. It fits perfectly into that panel because it's got the tall trees, kind of mimics the shape, like the crop of the tall trees. And then down on the bottom right, Yvonne Eiten Scott. She was the president of the past board. Man, I love this piece. This is like lots of Quillian standing wool. Really, really amazing. Sue Koppenhafer, really beautiful rug with a sunflower on a blue coat, right? So, you don't have to have a denim coat. You know how jean jackets come in like every color. Mary Watson's was really cool because this is all like wool strips. So it was this cool wool fringe. And isn't that funky? Like, that's really fun and funky. It's maybe not one to wear in the car. I can just imagine like the car seat. See, I always think about practical things. I'm not very romantic all of the time. And I can just imagine it getting stuck in the car seat and losing my mind. But just to wear out when there wasn't anything to foil your fun, this is such a cool fashion look for hookers, right? It's so wild and woolly. And Remy Levesque over on the right, doing his sort of signature thing. Do you see there's a heart in his? And it's a photographic heart, and he's transferred into the heart. It's a photograph. So this is one of his great techniques that he does. It's a very signature technique. And we've heard all about it because we've looked at this at length on our Cocktail Time episodes, and he always tells us exactly how he does this. He's done an article for Rug Cooking Magazine too, saying exactly how this is done. Absolutely beautiful seeing these jackets. It was such a lot of fun to see them in person because besides all of the displays that were there at Tigger for us to look at, just walking around and looking at people was a display. There's a lot more, and there's some that are not in this slideshow, right? So they're there for you for laters. Now, the next, wait a minute, let me not skip over them. We'll get there in a second. International Punch Needle Rug Cooking Day. I always treat Rug Cooking Day separately because it is a separate day. And we celebrated it this year together by having a hook along for quite a long time. International Punch Needle Day is April 5th, 2025. So for each punch needle day, it seems to be the tradition that a different certified Oxford punch needle teacher, at least in conjunction with Rug Cooking Magazine, gives a free pattern so that people can sit together and work on the free pattern. And this year, it is another one of my friends, Robin Whitford. Such an awesome person. We know her. We've had her on the show too. But she did a great pattern that looks like, let me show you what it looks like. This. And the pattern for it is in Rug Cooking Magazine. So you will be able to take this pattern out of here and work on this during National Punch Needle Rug Cooking Day, which is April 5th. So it seems like a long time away, but that is coming at us pretty fast. It is. So yeah, so that'll be something to look forward to. The pattern looks like this, and it's in the magazine. So you can coordinate your efforts. She even shows you how to finish the piece, you know. So the next feature brings us to, you cheat. Karen, how did you cheat with your jacket? How did you cheat? I loved your jacket. Is your jacket in here? Did I show yours? Let's see. I bet it is. Let me just check real fast. There's Colleen's. It's such a nice memory looking at these because, oh, that's right. That's right. You had a bunch of signatures on your jacket. That's not cheating. It's still super fun. What about the little people at the bottom? Were those like hooked or punched? Did you like apply those? You had everyone sign it. I remember. It was fun though. It gave us an activity to do. You had everyone sign it. It was still a jean jacket project. Yeah, that was really fun. That was really fun. Every time I looked at you, you were bent over and someone was signing it. Everybody signed it with different colors too. You have it just like that, right? So it's just like that forever. That really is so fun. That was fun. It was a great time, and I am looking forward to Newport 2024. I work on it all the time behind the scenes, and I'll bring you information as it comes. We're still waiting for our sort of incorporation number. Let me give you a Tigger update for 2 minutes. We're waiting for our incorporation for the state of Connecticut because we're such a large organization now, and I am the new president of Tigger. Not new, I've been working on it since last February, so over a year. But yeah, we weren't going to move one step further without incorporating, so that we were doing everything legally with money, which I think is a good policy. So one of the things that I did this week, and I like to be very transparent with the Tigger stuff, and I'll make a video about this later for the Tigger page. We will not start charging people for membership for exclusive Tigger content. We will not do exclusive Tigger content until we can offer you a membership and collect money. And we're not doing it until we can legally do it and we have a bank account set up. So until then, it's a free-for-all. And after that, I hope that you will support Tigger, no matter what country you are from or how you feel about the U.S. at this moment. It is not about how you feel about politics. It is about how you feel about Tigger as an organization, which has been happening for over 30 years. And it is a way to connect to other rug hookers in other countries, right? This is a rug hooking organization. I've had a lot of trouble with this lately. If you saw my eyes start twitching, that's why. So one of the things I did this past week, and I have 2 more emails to send, but one of the things I did with Tigger was to create, because as you can imagine, we are an American board, and not every country is in love with the United States right now. So I'm not getting into that, and I don't allow other people to get into that on our shared platforms. I do understand, right? I do understand. But it doesn't change the fact that we are a rug hooking organization, and we are having a big convention in 2027. And we have already started putting out amazing free content. Colleen Tiefenthal has put out two free patterns so far. The first one will appear at Sauter Village this year, right? Some of your finished versions of it. We have been working hard since last February on this, right? So we're not going to take too much political conversation. We're going to say, I understand how you feel. Please, let's see how things go, and please continue to support Tigger as an organization, because it is the International Guild of Hand Hooking Rug Artists. That means hookers. That means us. So one of the things I did this past week to kind of temper all of this emotion, right, that reactive and a little bit aggressive sometimes, is I have put together what I'm calling an auxiliary committee, so that we are not just, we're 5 rug hooking brands that make up Tigger as a board. I'm the president. Rebecca is the vice president of Storyteller Wool. Colleen Tiefenthal of Beechnut Studio is the secretary. Naomi Neeser Allen of Ravensgate Primitives is the treasurer, and Haley Perry, and I'm going to see Naomi and Haley on Wednesday, so you might see a video from us. Haley Perry of Loop by Loop is the sort of communications technical person. And we are 5 American women who have rug cooking businesses in the U.S. And we've been taking our time for a year already working on this to give great content, to get our ducks in a row so that we have regular content that's going out. And we have a lot of content planned. And all of this is for free. We are all volunteers. But I put together an auxiliary committee, and that's exactly what I want to call it. And what it is it's a list of one leader from each participating Tigger country that is my go-to person when I want to say, listen, we're putting out another Tigger newsletter. What's going on, Mrs. Hashisuka? What's going on in Japan? Can you tell us? Because she is the person from Japan. She is part of the auxiliary community. Do you know auxiliary really means backup? Like when there's an emergency, and I feel like we're having kind of an emergency right now. So the auxiliary committee, I hope, will be something that always stays in place for Tigger. But it does mean that if we're having issues, however things go in the near future, I have other people to lean on or defer to. I could say to Michelle O'Driscoll in Ireland, please tell us what's going on in Ireland right now. Please let's have a voice from Ireland, because sometimes people don't want to hear American voices at this moment. So it's nice to have these auxiliary people coming in, and I'm getting all that in place. And it is a lovely group of support people who will support Tigger. Things will roll on just as we planned them, and there will be tons of Zoom online remote options for classes that happen at Tigger for the first time. There will be tons of options for people who cannot come, for people who don't want to come. They should still be supporting Tigger. Okay, I'm stopping. We just need to support each other in the craft. Absolutely. Right? Because if we allow anybody, whether it is a president or a musician or a shoemaker, a candle maker, a candlestick maker, if we allow anybody to separate us as friends or to dissolve a rug hooking organization that has been there for over 30 years, that's your fault, right? You can't blame it on him or this or that or you or us. If that's how you feel and you're going to let Tigger fall apart, that's your fault, right? That's not my fault because I'm in it. So I'm stopping. Sorry about that. I just want to keep you updated on where we are, because you know you're going to hear a lot about Tigger because we're together. So I want you to know that we're doing everything we can to keep it appealing for a lot of people, so people don't lose interest in Tigger as an organization. It'd be awful if it drops dead on my watch, and I'd prefer if that didn't happen. So let's come to the next article, which is the results are in celebration number 34, Reader's Choice winners. So again, like a lot of the rugs that we see in here, and I'm not going to show a lot of them, are rugs that we've already seen in this article of Rug Cooking Magazine. So for me, it's kind of like, do we need to see them twice kind of thing, but it, whatever, very limited space. They are all beautiful and glorious. There is no question about that. Every one of the rugs that's chosen as the Reader's Choice is phenomenal. Just following on Instagram and hoping to attend. Leah, I would love it if you did. There'll be lots of stuff before then. And there's also the possibility of planning stuff that happens in other places at the same time, right? Well, it's a long way away, but there's lots of options. There's no reason to check out now just because the board is American, because that's what I'm getting. Judy says, without veering too far into politics, another thing to let your elected representatives know is that U.S. reputation around the world greatly affects tourism industry for groups like us. Absolutely. I'm not going to do any spoiler alerts, but I think we're all going to be hearing some other news that has nothing to do with me or my brand or Tigger in the near future that you're not going to be happy about, that is directly related to this. I can't, but you're going to know what I mean when you hear it. All right, so coming back over here, and it's exactly what Judy's talking about. Results are in. So while I usually don't gravitate toward floral rugs, in this case, I have to say, holy smokies, the Quaker, right? This is 64 inches by 34, number 3 to number 5 cut dyed, and as is wool and wool yarn on linen. Designed by Pearl McGowan and hooked by Julie Riley of Tyler, Texas. This is number 1. This is phenomenal. I mean, and this, of course, this would appeal to people who love rug hooking, who love marble cake backgrounds, who love cabbage roses, who love colorful gardens, who love romance, who love book plates, who love illuminations. It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, it is breathtakingly beautiful. I think this is at number 1 for all of those reasons, and that it does have a lot of crossover appeal. right? Because it does appeal to people who just love rugs or love any of the things I just mentioned. And it also appeals to the 20th century school of rug hookers, right? That this was the bread and butter, like this kind of pattern. This was the backbone. This was the central nervous system, this kind of pattern. So a pattern that is executed in this way, with this kind of realism, with this kind of whimsical color pop, with this kind of romance, right, would appeal to everybody, right, without any exception, I think. So number one, the Quaker. It's an extraordinary rug. Number two, and I'm going to hold on here. Number two is the rug we were just looking at. So the Passion is at number two. I'm not going to show you the whole countdown because that's part of the best of what this particular issue has to offer. But I am going to, because they're all beautiful in between, I am going to jump to number 11. I think it's more than number 11. But this is Mrs. Hashisuka's, Fumio Hashisuko of Tokyo, Japan. This is her piece called Gitorn. 81 centimeters by 60 centimeters, number 3 cut hand-dyed natural wool, and number 4 cut old clothing on rug warp, designed and hooked by Fumio Hashisuka. And she is the representative. She is the person in Japan who is taking on the role for the auxiliary committee, and I'm so happy that she is. Because she teaches and she's very involved with Rug Cooking Magazine. She hopefully will be at Tigger in 2024, but she usually comes to Solder. She comes to Tigger. I saw her last year. She brought me a beautiful kimono. She didn't know yet that I would be president because it was announced then, but she bought just it's beautiful. I'm going to wear it next time I go to Newport. Maybe I'll wear it on Wednesday when I go see Naomi and Haley. But what a lovely woman. What amazing work she's doing. She's teaching. Kaz went to visit her recently. There's an article about Mrs. Hashisuko that Kaz wrote for Magpie Times that's coming out in this Busy Bees issue. And you will love seeing it because you get a window into Mrs. Hashisuko's world, her students. Kaz was one of her students last time she was over in Japan. It's a beautiful article. You will love seeing it. That's coming out in the Magpie. That's coming out days from now. So these are all beautiful choices from Celebration Magazine. Of course they are. I chose this one because it's quite different, and I love it for being different. This comes in at number 15. This is a 48-inch square, number 5 to number 7 cut wool on linen, designed by Allison O'Donoghue and hooked by Jennifer Rudolph of Lyons, Oregon. I think this is exquisite. It's just such a lot of fun. It's so creative. It's so colorful. It's so funky. It has a bit of a mid-century modern feel to it. Color-wise, it's very exciting. I love that little tier of the darker value on the bottom. It does have sort of a oversized polka dot pattern, very subtle in the background. The whipping around the edge matches the panel at the bottom, the ground. These totems of birds. It's so fun. It's funny. It's colorful. This is, for me, what I like most about rug cooking. We all like different things, but for me, this is what I like the most about it. Something that, like, I look at and it just makes you smile. It's colorful. It's inspiring. It's whimsy. It's storytelling. It's just fun and funky. It's different, and I wouldn't even say it's contemporary. It's not necessarily contemporary. This could have been done in the 1950s, right? It's just cool. It's different. Love this piece. There's another piece, comes in at number 14. This is called Wild Hat Jackrabbit. This is 20 by 26, number 3 cut hand-dyed wool, needle felted wool, and acrylic yarn embellishments on monk's cloth. Designed by Carol Schmitz and hooked by Tricia Tog Miller of Alstead, New Hampshire. Absolutely beautiful. You see some what looks like applied mixed media. I don't even know what to call. Is that a shell or is that like the skeleton? It might be the skeleton, maybe not a shell. Maybe I'm looking at the skeleton textures. It could be lace. It could be like handmade lace, or it could be like a plant. I think it's fiber. I'm not sure. I do see a feather in it. But what a beautiful idea, hooking this whimsical rabbit with pierced ears. It has this fantasy quality to it, doesn't it? It's so different. It's so striking. And the Prati flower with the button center, lots of beads in the center of that button. That must be a vintage button. And then these other applied materials that function almost like a fascinator style hat, but it's a little bird's nest. And the feather kind of drooping on there. I mean, it's so magical, isn't it? It's just absolutely amazing. Beautiful piece. And then there's another article I wanted to draw your attention to that's called Celebrating the Voices of Maya Women Artists. Is it just me? When I was growing up, I always said Mayan, and apparently that was incorrect. The nuns never corrected me. So I have to get out of the habit of saying Mayan because apparently the right word is Maya. That is the descriptive. So Celebrating the Voices of Maya Women Artists, Multicolores at Rug Hooking Week. So this is an article about this group of women, and we've talked about this a lot with Rebecca Martin because she went to Guatemala last year. Susan Sutherland did. A lot of our buddies did on the Multicolores tour, and you get matched up with one of these rug hooking artists from Guatemala, and that becomes your person, and you work with that person to make these beautiful rugs out of cut up T-shirts that are sent by, for the most part, Goodwill. Once they leave the Goodwill store and they go to the Goodwill outlets, if they don't sell, they get bundled up and sent. And they're working with T-shirts as the material to make these rugs. And it is such a fun ongoing project. This program was not running for quite a few years during COVID, and it is running again. So look into that if you're looking to make the actual trip. Otherwise, Multicolores will be at Sauter Village for Rug Cooking Week. And this year, which happens in Archbald, Ohio, I will be there as well with a show and a talk. I'm not going to teach there. I just can't. This year it is August. Ooh, it's earlier than I thought. August 12th to 16th. 29th year. So you can look forward to Multicolores there and a bunch of your other buddies. There's lots more great articles in this issue of Rug Cooking Magazine. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. All things considered, right? Lots more free patterns in this magazine. It's just lots of fun. Lots of great articles. But those are the ones that really jumped out at me. There's another beautiful one in the back from Hooked in the Mountains, the Green Mountain Rug Cooking Guild. I just didn't get there in the show today, so. But it leaves you something to look forward to. Absolutely beautiful rugs by Suzanne Dermayer, Green Mountain Guild. So much to see, so much to love in this issue, and I just scratched the surface of what is in there. There's so much more in there for you. I hope that you have your copy. Maybe you are following along with me, or maybe your copy's about to come in the mail. Who's that at the door? Uh-oh, I got buttons going. I shouldn't have done that. It's okay, baby. Go back to sleep. All right. So, hey, you know what? I will see you later in the week. I have a little bit of a busy week because I am teaching at the church on Friday. And we thought there'd maybe be 5 or 6 people there, but there are 15 people. So that was like, rah-rah. I have got to put together a lot of stuff. And I want to be sure to do it well because it's 3. People don't have to come all 3 times. They can come 1 time or 3 times or stay for part of it or whatever, because it's like 1 to 4. And if you are anywhere near Hartford, Connecticut, and you're like, ooh, can you squeeze one more? Just send me an email to ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. I'll see if we can. Because it's a great class, and it's outreach for me. It's like I'm charging $25 for all 3 classes, right? Not 75 total, like 25 total. But the reason is because I want people to learn how to rug hook, and it's at my church, and I love the people who are there, and my mom will be there helping me. And yeah, these are all friends and new people at Ribbon Candy Hooking. Well, Susan Wentworth is going, so we already know each other. But there's a couple of other people who are new, who are coming to learn, and all of the people who are there are learning. In fact, yesterday I went to a members meeting after the service, and there was a guy who came who I hadn't met before, and he is a stay-at-home dad. And he said, I would love to come and learn how to do that because he's at home and he's a creative person and he would like to find some interesting outlets. That's why I got into rug hooking myself, was to be able to do stuff at home that wasn't too messy or didn't have dangerous supplies like stained glass, because you got little kids running around. And so yesterday he decided to come too, and I think he makes 15. We can always squeeze one more buddy, right? We can always make it work. So I'll be doing that on Friday. I'll see if I have time between now and Friday. Think about doing outreach in your community. I'm just using hoops and basic hooks. If you're ever looking for help with finding supplies for teaching basic classes, please let me know. I can definitely steer you toward very simple, basic stuff just to get people going. Just use thrifty stuff. Don't bring your wool and all that. Just do it old school. Everything comes out beautifully. People are so happy to do thrifty stuff and to cut up their old clothes. Everybody's so happy to do that, So that'll be a lot of fun. And whether or not I can squeeze a midweek show will depend on how far I get with getting my orders out and getting that stuff ready for Friday, because that's a big deal to represent the craft well to that many people. So I will keep you updated on that, I promise. Hopefully I don't fall sick again. That was twice fun last week. Have a great week. In the meantime, everybody, look for announcements at YouTube. If you're subscribing to the channel, you'll know when I schedule a show. And also on our Facebook group, which is Rug Cooking and Punch Needle Club. You can pre-order the Magpie Times magazine that's about to come out with me at Ribbon Candy Hooking, or you can order it on Amazon. If you're a Prime member, it just comes for free with the other stuff that you order that day. It'll come with your toothpaste or whatever else you got. And save the emissions on the cars driving all over the place, right? Order it with the stuff you've already gotten. It just will come to you. For Canadians, order it locally from Amazon.ca instead of .com, and you will get it locally too, so no huge shipping fee. I'll see how this week goes, and I will check in with you a little bit later. Have a great week, everybody. And yeah, if you need me in the meantime, ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. I will be there.